Welcome everyone to the Predictive Playbook. I'm your host, John Ryan. Rob Veno will be joining me quite shortly, and Mr. Finn will be right around 4:15 Eastern Standard Time. I don't think I've ever said I told you so, but I'm going to today with not necessarily Rob Veno, he's too nice a guy, but Tony Finn. He said there was no way that Mac Jones was going to be the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots, and lo and behold. But if anybody in the chat room remembers what the bet was, because I never did write it down, but it had to be significant, and I think we need to follow up on that. I don't know what you guys think, but while I'm talking here, we're going to start with Pga Tour, just the player pool for you guys to take a look at. It is a totally different type of event for sure. You have Cantley starting out with a 10 under score before he even tees off, and in DraftKings, in that particular DraftKings contest, I believe he's given 30 or 35 points right out of the chute because he's in first place. Now there is a contest that is just straight up. There is none of this head start type of stuff. But in the DraftKings, I don't think it's going to impact it nearly as much as you may think. Some of the names that are coming up on the list, and I can actually pull that up for you right now. Billy Horschel is coming up as one of the best players to take. I know that's a name that's running under the radar quite a bit, and he really would have to shoot just a remarkable inhuman in 4 days of golf to take down the first place prize. But in terms of his setup for this event, without the head start points awarded to the top players, I do think that Horschel would be one of my top picks in a regular event. So I do have the names here. We'll put them right up here for you. So we have Billy Horschel, we have John Rahm, Stuart Sink, who has been right there. What a great year he has had, especially down the stretch. Bryson DeChambeau, and wasn't that of just it was, I think the word is glorious. I think it was a glorious overtime with those two going head to head, Cantley and him. It was crazy. And then we have Rob Veno in the house. I'll give him a minute there to get set up. Daniel Berger is another guy that a lot of times I have taken here. Not a guy that's talked all that much, but tee to green right now, he's one of the best. Dustin Johnson turns things around last week and really had a quiet T7 in the BMW event last week. Then we have Joaquin Niemann, Jordan Spieth, Patrick Reed, who has been sick, by the way, but he did qualify 30th, and he did say he's going to gut it out the best he can. Tony Finau, of course, is playing hot. Abraham Ancer, Eric Van Rooyen from South Africa, and of course McIlroy owns this track. Eastlake is one of the places where he really has shined in his career. Sam Burns, of course, has been playing great. It's great to see Sergio Garcia. And the last name that you can't quite see is Victor Hovland. And this guy's name is Rob Veno.
Well.
Here I have a new thing here.
Okay.
Oh, it's not. Is it working? Oh, yeah, it's working. Every time somebody comes on the show, we're going to play that.
Oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a virtual toast.
I got it.
But I'm hoping that Tony Finn can make it. I know he's tied up with a lot of different shows today, as are you. I actually did 4 segments today already. But did Tony Finn and I have a bet with Mac Jones as the starting quarterback week 1?
This is why we write things down, John, because
I didn't
trying
think
to remember.
I didn't think I was going to be this obnoxious and find out, but I thought it was one of these guys like James McGinnis in the chat room or Donnell Castro may have been on that show. They might remember what it was, but if there was no bet, then I'm not going to bring it up.
Yeah, This is why we write our plays down at the end of the show, because who can remember? I mean, and that discussion goes way, way back. I mean, that discussion goes back to pre-draft, watching the Senior Bowl, bringing that point up of
That's
what
when you
Matt
started
Rule
it.
said. And it kind of surprised me at that point that Matt Rule wasn't the guy to draft Mac Jones. Instead, they traded for Sam Darnold. But then we saw Mac Jones, right, rated as the third, or at least projected to be the third pick off the board all the way up until draft night, when that huge swing in the odds came in favor of Trey Lance. Somebody had some information from San Francisco that it was going to be Trey Lance, and it was. And Mac Jones slid to 15 and into the right lap. Well, let's face it. I mean, San Francisco probably would have been, any place would be good for this guy who, again, I mean, we're beating a dead horse, but a guy who, by NFL standards in 2021, this day and age, all the things that you need to do well, he does beyond well. And, for all the chatter that we heard from so-called experts before the draft, television, any type of media you can find, who, Mac Jones is just the unathletic white guy, and we better draft Justin Fields, Trey Lance, anybody but him. And he walks right in, and Josh McDaniels' offense is not easy. Bill Belichick is not easy to please. Bill Belichick doesn't spend first-round draft picks on quarterbacks, period, end of story. Everything Matt Rule said on that Thursday morning at the Senior Bowl, John, we're hearing it over and over and over again today since 10 o'clock this morning when that breaking news happened, because that, reel of debate and talk shows that ESPN has across a zillion networks, the NFL Network, Fox Sports 1, all of these places, that their daily programming consists of nothing but back and forth about one or two issues. Today, they've all come to the realization of what Matt Rule told us on a Thursday morning in February. He's a head coach for a reason. He gave the kid, the whole playbook, and the kid knew it by Thursday of game week. So it's no surprise that he's absolutely got a grasp on the New England entire playbook already. That's what we hear from their they're so sure of it, they cut Cam Newton. I mean, you don't cut Cam Newton if you're not sure that this guy can walk right out there. His first NFL snap, the opposing defensive coordinator, I forget who does New England play opening week, John? I forget now. But
I think
whoever,
it's Miami.
Okay, so
Brian Flores. I'll check.
If it is Miami, and I'll look too real quick so I can finish what I'm trying to say here. Yeah, it is Miami. All right, so Brian Flores comes from New England system, head coach in Miami, and he's a defensive guy. And, first snap, they're going to try and confuse this guy from the get-go, and Bill Belichick is so sure that Mac Jones won't be confused that not only is he going to let him start, but he cut a veteran quarterback. In today's NFL, the way injuries are, you have to have two competent quarterbacks, and have to have is, just what you have. It's what you have to have, but it's not what anybody really has. I mean, name us a handful of teams that if their starter goes down, they're still going to be okay. So you don't just cut a guy like Cam Newton for no reason. And
I agree.
I don't know that it was no reason, but Mac Jones is the winner of that battle really quickly. And we'll see. Hey, Cam Newton's going to latch on somewhere. Obviously, he won't be out of work long.
To that point, I am surprised that Dallas has not gobbled him up like in a heartbeat. Because if there is a team, at least in my opinion, that needs a backup quarterback to Dak Prescott, it's them. Because they cut Gilbert. I think it was earlier this morning they cut him. So, that was puzzling. And that almost, I guess, kind of connected to, or at least in my mind, connected the dots to Cam Newton being a backup, which I don't know. I mean, does he want to be a backup?
Well,
That
I mean, the bottom line for him is if he gets on with a team where somebody does get hurt and he's called upon to play, he'll be playing for a contract next year, maybe starting somewhere, right? He's not too old yet, and we still haven't seen, Cam Newton's had that shoulder problem for a couple of years and really hasn't been able to display the fact that he's beyond that shoulder injury now. I mean, some reports you read, Cam Newton throws the ball real, and there was one preseason game I watched where it looked like he did throw the ball real well and looked somewhat like his old self as far as arm strength is concerned. But without the opportunity, New England didn't throw the ball downfield much this preseason, so he didn't get to cut it loose. And if he winds up being a backup and can't show anybody other than practice, backup might be his status next year as well. But if he does, you never know when that opportunity comes. Somebody gets hurt, you step in, you perform real well. There's got to be a bunch of teams that would be. I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think of who the backup to Derek Carr is with the Raiders because John Gruden is pretty good with veteran quarterbacks. He has a hard time with rookies because he's so hard on quarterbacks. But with a veteran like Cam Newton, Oakland could be Las Vegas could be a destination. I'm sure if we looked at depth charts after the cuts today, we could find plenty. And I'm pretty sure, before we can look it up and digest it all, he'll be on a team.
Yeah, I'm checking it right now. Raiders here, depth chart.
Because he's not making a lot of money at this point in time.
Right. Quarterback Marcus Mariota.
Oh, okay. So he's got a guy. The backup to Matthew Stafford if he got hurt in L.A.
Let's do that one because I don't know too many people that can name the starting quarterback of every NFL team. That's one thing, but to name the backup, that would be impressive.
Yeah, like
that
I said,
would be impressive.
Only a handful of teams that are okay.
Let's see. I think the Eagles are okay too. They have Flacco. He looked great in that last preseason game. I mean, he looked like he was 10 years younger.
And they just got Gardner Minshew, so they have no use for another quarterback. Very cheap for a sixth rounder. I don't know. It's possible if he wanted him back, he could go back to Ron Rivera in Washington, where the quarterback situation is, I mean, there's more than one, but it's not completely settled to where you're real confident in one or the other. And maybe if Ron Rivera wanted Cam back as a veteran backup, somebody he knows, somebody he's coached, and certainly, Cam, to his credit, he was thrown into that situation in Foxborough, which just isn't – it's not the right system for Cam Newton by any means, and that's hard to deal with. Again, Josh McDaniels' playbook isn't the easiest, and you have to go in a COVID year, limited practice, a lot of Zoom meetings, and try and learn everything and then get on the field with a bunch of guys you never played with. And to top that off, not very good as far as the receiving core is concerned, New England. So a lot of stuff was stacked against Cam Newton. But back to the original point, Mac Jones, again, he's everything Matt Rule said he was, and he's going to be thrown right into the fire. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is going to start, right? Mac Jones will start. Justin Fields will not. We found out today it's Andy Dalton. Trey Lance will not. He's injured, and it's going to be Jimmy Garoppolo. Who am I missing? There's one QB. Zach Wilson will start for the Jets. So you'll have three of the top five out there opening day. And
it's impressive.
I don't know, John, which one is in the best position? Is it Trevor Lawrence with the Jaguars? Is it Zach Wilson with the Jets? Or is it Mac Jones with the Patriots?
The answer to that, I've been a big fan of this guy, and I give you the credit because had you not told me that story about the Senior Bowl, I wouldn't have gotten as deep into the research about this kid as I did. And I just, at this point now that it's gone to he is the starter, it just reminds me of how Brady became the starter. Obviously, that involved an injury to Drew Bledsoe, but suddenly a guy like Belichick is not going to start a rookie unless it's completely warranted. And I expect this kid to. I was going to look up the odds for Rookie of the Year, but first you asked about the Rams backup. That's John Wolford, Wake Forest kid,
and he played a little bit last year. John Wolford.
Yeah, that's right. 2 years. Was originally picked up by the Jets, and looking at the news line here, the Rams picked him up as a free agent. Yeah.
Well, and he's a completely different quarterback than Matthew Stafford. I mean, John Wolford depends a lot on his legs. He's a smaller guy without the rocket arm strength, but certainly competent. So maybe they don't need him. But the point being, there's somebody in the NFL. There's 32 teams, and that makes 32 backup jobs. And Cam Newton, if he's not one of the best 64 quarterbacks in that league, then I'm not watching the right thing. I mean, he's better than some guys. I guess Dallas is going to go with Ben DiNucci. If they cut Gilbert, that would mean Ben DiNucci becomes your backup. And you know, that's what you brought up to begin with. Why not Dallas with Mike McCarthy? I don't know the relationship between anybody on the Cowboys staff and Cam Newton. Generally, that's how these things go, right? You go somewhere where you've got some type of relationship with somebody on the staff. These guys cross paths during their careers at one point or another. New Orleans has two. The backup to Matt Ryan, I'm not sure of. In Atlanta, but that's a drop-back style system with Arthur Smith. That would fit Cam Newton. There's a lot of things if we were to go through them individually, I'm sure.
Yeah, that might be fun to do one of these shows. I'll put together the depth chart in a readable form for the show, and we can go team by team with every position.
It's the name of the game in the NFL. Stay healthy, and if you can't have depth, I mean, those teams that draft well and build depth are the ones that survive it, and some don't survive it. Again, it's one of the reasons why we pay such close attention to preseason football. The second half results may be, meaningless to a lot of people. Well, how could you watch that? It's just a bunch of backup guys. But a lot of those guys, I'd venture to say, better than 50% of those guys are going to end up on the field at some point this season in a meaningful way. And, if you've done, as a front office, if you've done your job and you've built the team with quality depth, then you're going to be okay to the end. It goes unnoticed at this point of the season because a lot of people are only familiar with the starters and not the backups. But once you get into week 7, week 8, sometimes you have entire position groups that are depleted, John, and you're like, anybody who plays fantasy football knows how you're scrambling every single week. Oh, my God, I need a running back because such and such got hurt, and then my other guy got hurt. So the NFL is what it is, and you better have enough at every position. Cam Newton would be a good backup for a lot of people.
That's certainly true. I'll have to talk to you about it after the show, putting together a fantasy league of I guess all but two will be considered pros like us, and it's all for fun. We're not doing one of those $10,000 per entry thing, and that's actually not a smart thing to do because there's a lot of luck involved with fantasy football in your league at the office. But I do think that we can, over the course of the season, Rob, and in combination with Tony Finn especially, provide some really good intelligence where you can target certain players that are flying under the radar nobody ever heard of. I remember doing one lineup, and it was back when Victor Cruz got hurt in the Eagles game. I can't remember what year that was, like 2015 maybe. It was the year that Benjamin and Oh boy, I'm drawing a blank. This guy's a stud. He played for New York.
Odell Beckham?
Yeah, so Odell Beckham. Oh man, I guess I'm tired, or like Las Vegas Chris said, I must be drunk again. But I actually picked up both those guys by watching snap. The number of snaps was going up for Odell Beckham. He hadn't started a game yet, and all we knew was he was from LSU. So I actually picked him up on a waiver wire just because the snaps were going up. And wouldn't you know it, Victor Cruz is one of my wide receivers, and he has that horrific leg injury, he goes out for the year. So I honestly thought I was in deep trouble, and then all of a sudden Benjamin and Beckham just went off the rest of the year, and I cruised. It was just autopilot. I could have not even changed my lineup, and it was nuts. But that helps, and then knowing the backups for us with our handicapping. You're absolutely right. The teams that may not have the best offensive line, but have the best backup line that can plug and play. And that's what New England's been so good at. You think, oh, no, they lost their left tackle. That's, usually the highest paid guy on the offense next to the quarterback. Because a right-handed quarterback, at least. And his job is to protect the blind side. So you also have to look at who the backup is at left tackle.
It's so important. I mean, it's been the demise of the Dallas Cowboys the last 2-3 years, and while they have a terrific starting five, that starting five hasn't stayed healthy for 2 or 3 years, and as soon as they try to put a backup into the game, the quarterback's under siege. So the depth on that offensive line was god-awful. It got people killed back there playing quarterback, and it's great when you're looking on paper, oh, wow, that starting offensive line is fantastic. But the NFL just inevitably, John, when we read those injury reports during the week, they're huge. Those injury reports are huge. And
it's a mash unit.
You have to go, my guess would be you need to go at least 8 deep if you can. I mean, you could look right here at home to what's happened to the Eagles in a couple of instances when they've lost 2-3 starting offensive linemen. Brandon Brooks down.
Kelsey,
and then the left tackle Jason Peters. And once they go and they're putting in these other guys, it's just not the same. Carson Wentz went from being what looked like a multiple-time All-Pro quarterback early in his career to a guy who's running for his life and making bad decisions. And Nick Foles, the same thing off of that Super Bowl year, or the year when he went 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and then the following year, the offensive line was decimated, and he looked like, a fourth-string quarterback. But it's all football's the ultimate team game. If one guy's not doing his job, you're in trouble. And I better stop rambling here because it drives me nuts that. So many people want to say, use a quarter. Well, he won a Super Bowl. A quarterback never wins anything alone, despite what you might hear from a bunch of people. A quarterback never. If that were the case, John Elway would have 6 Super Bowls. But you need all the pieces, a little bit of luck, and you have to be really good. But believe me, the quarterback is not the be-all, end-all. It just. Dan Marino used to give, Rolexes to his offensive line for keeping them upright. That's what they think of their protection unit. Please keep me upright. I'll do my best, and I'll take care of you at the end of the season.
Yep, you're absolutely right. It's I think Jim Kelly, he'd be 4-0 in the Super Bowl instead of 0-4.
I mean, another tremendous
That's another
quarterback that just, couldn't get there. And yet people like Trent Dilfer win Super Bowls. Why?
Yeah,
well, because
Joe Flacco.
Defense was dominant. Again, it's the ultimate team game, and to single a quarterback out and say, well, he's never won a Super Bowl, or well, he's won for they just don't do it alone. It's commonly said, John, and it's really in essence, in reality, it's garbage to say it because it's just not true. It's not factual in any instance. Tom Brady without Adam Vinatieri saving their hide in a couple of Super Bowls, wouldn't have 6 Super Bowls. I mean, it's, again.
Interception in the end zone is another ring.
Interception in the end zone is another ring when you could have just given it to Marshawn Lynch. Atlanta not doing the right thing, clock management-wise, with a 27-3 lead or whatever it was is another thing, late in the third quarter. So, yeah, it takes a lot of pieces, and everybody's got to do their job. And to your point, that's what Bill Belichick, as a head coach, has made a career out of. He gets everybody. That's his saying, right? Do your job. I think that's his 3 words. Do your job. And he doesn't, he's looking for personnel that suits him and what he wants to do, his philosophy as a head coach. And they don't necessarily go out and get the most heralded names all the time. A lot of times you're looking at guys on New England, you're like, who's this guy? Tom Brady made a lot of wide receivers look good that weren't big names. He had Randy Moss, and after that, it's hard to remember who he had that was a stud wide receiver, aside from Gronkowski at tight end.
Yeah, and he has more talent now than he's ever had before. And that's the scary thing down there in Tampa Bay. And that defense is only going to get better.
Yeah, they're a handful.
I'm not crowning them yet, but
if they stay healthy, they're a handful.
That's right. But that is the key. You look historically, at least the last 10 years, the teams that do make it to the Super Bowl are healthy. They're not, with the exception of maybe 2000 with Bledsoe being down, but he was able to play in the Super Bowl. It was Belichick's decision not to. But other than that, I can't think of any other teams that weren't. They certainly had their starting quarterback and 80% of that offensive line.
Yeah, that's it, right?
Starters.
If you go through the numbers, and I heard these numbers last year prior to Super Bowl on offensive lines, but it's probably the biggest key is having your entire starting unit just stay healthy. I mean, you can lose a guy for a couple of games, but just stay healthy. Look what happened to the Chiefs last year against Tampa, right? The offensive line lost 2-3 guys, and Pat Mahomes just didn't look like Pat Mahomes anymore. So as great as he is, $40-some-odd million a year worth, no protection, not that good.
Yep.
No holes for the running game, not that good.
I am going to do this. Just for pizza money.
All right.
I have the one bet. I found the one. Mac Jones is 100-1 to win the MVP. Yeah, I have, and this is scary because I have not drank any Kool-Aid today, and Tony Finn said he sent me the Quaaludes, but I haven't gotten them yet. But I mean, why not? It's 100-1. I mean, it's a fun bet. I'll forget about it, and then all of a sudden I'll go, oh my God. Or I'll just forget about it because he's not doing anything. But why not? Now let's see Rookie of the Year. That's probably a better. Let's see.
Yeah, I wonder if it's even moved today off of the news. If the odds are less. Yeah,
that's kind of what I'm. I mean, even 100-1 is put $20 on it, $10. Offensive Player of the Year. What's the difference between that and the MVP? Oh, here's Offensive Rookie of the Year. Here we go. Mac Jones is actually second now at 6-1.
Yeah, I bet you
so
there was a little bit of money.
That did move.
Or odds makers just immediately adjusted it before they got any money. Well, we know what to expect.
Yep. And I'm looking at DraftKings for what it's worth. I can check bet MGM. But Trevor Lawrence is 3.5-1. Mac Jones 6-1. Zach Wilson 7.5. Justin Fields 7.5. Trey Lance 7.5. Najee Harris 8.5. Kyle Pitts 10-1. See, there's one that sticks out. Mm-hmm. I know we weren't planning on talking about football like this, but it's quite interesting how it's the path that just led us here. Because, again, I wouldn't have gone into DraftKings to look at these numbers had it not been for the way our conversation was going. And that's a good thing. But Kyle Pitts at 10-1. I mean, there again. You know, if you spend $2 on pizza, that's a $2 bet in my eyes. I mean, that guy he too could take the league by storm, just because of his athletic ability.
Yep. Well, you know, the way tight ends are used in offenses nowadays, and their coach, their new head coach, just happens to be a tight ends coach by trade, Arthur Smith, right? So Calvin Ridley is on that team, but there's no question Kyle Pitts could end up the season, if he stays healthy, as the leading receiver on that team, which if you're the leading receiver on the Atlanta Falcons, chances are 17-game season, chances are it's 100 or more receptions. And in Kyle Pitts' case, the red zone target that he is, it's touchdowns. I think the only piece you'd miss with him is, are the Falcons going to be a successful football team or not? It's hard to give. But, again, it's Rookie of the Year, so it's a limited selection. It's not, like 32 quarterbacks for a league MVP. Rookie of the Year is very, very limited because a lot of them don't even start. So that's, of all the ones you rattled off, that's just on personal performance, because they might be a little conservative, let's put it that way, with Mac Jones, that quarterback, right? New England may go the conservative route the way Belichick used to and try to win games 23-17, stuff like that. Let's hand off, let's short pass. And his numbers won't look, or you won't see him on NFL Red Zone being highlighted as much as you might Kyle Pitts. So the highlight reel plays, at least to start the season, probably would go to Pitts. And we'll see how much attention he draws from opposing defensive coordinators. I know if I was one, I'd pay attention to him. And Jones, those seem to be the two. I guess Lawrence, if you were going to play Lawrence, you're banking on passing yardage, right? They're thinking that Jacksonville's going to be behind and he's going to get a lot of fourth quarter yardage. Same to Zach Wilson. I happen to like Zach Wilson better than any of these quarterbacks, so let's, in my case, I think he'll do well. For Robert Saleh, it's a tough division. But, man, 10-1 with Kyle Pitts. How could you go wrong?
Yeah, that's too good to be true, I think.
Even if it doesn't win, it's a good bet. It's like when we were talking to Jesse the other day. Vlad Jr.'s probably not going to win the MVP, but at the time he made the bet, it was a good value bet. Kyle Pitts, right out of the gate, is a good value bet. They have the Eagles right away, right? He could establish himself week 1.
Yep, that could be 150 yards receiving right there.
And if it is, then he already has rocketed ahead of everybody else. So we'll see. In the meantime, we talked ourselves almost to the finish line.
Question was sent to me, a direct message, kind of segueing into baseball here. And I have another commitment coming up here in about 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. So it's good I looked at the clock.
Yep.
But question was sent to me a direct message from Twitter, and I do try to answer all of them. This one was asking Reds versus left-handed pitching and how it's gone the last couple times. They face the Cardinals and Jay Happ, who's definitely left-handed, and the Reds' last 2 games scored 1 run each, and then won 5-1, won 14-5, lost 6-1, won 12-3. So they're not too bad. Let's see what they were for the month of August.
We know last night was bad against John Lester, of all people. They didn't hit him.
Yeah, he's come on. I remember the one time I had him about 3 starts ago. And the start before that, he had pitched 6 for like the first time in a while. Or maybe it was 5 2/3, I guess. And looked a lot better. But for the month of August, the Reds are 4-5. That's a negative 22% ROI, though, because they've been minus 152 favorites. So I don't really see anything in that game anyway. But why don't we do, you and I do the best bets.
Yeah.
I did update our record. Our ROI is 29% for those 23 shows that we have done. So that record is 43 and 25, 63.2% straight up win bet. But we've had a couple dogs and 29.2% ROI last 23 shows. And this is show number 24 that we've been tracking it. And then I have to get those pizza bets together. But that's because of the last 2 weeks in golf. It's not. I'm going to have to think about how to present it so it's not misleading. Because the percentage record is probably going to be like 33% of those prop bets. But because I had the winner in the last two tournaments, it's going to look like something that it's really not. But we'll throw it together and just kind of try to explain it. So where are you heading tonight in baseball?
Yeah, I'll go really fast here, John. Tony and I both were on Milwaukee last night, and then the pitching scratch came, so it kind of voided out our play. So tonight I'm right back on the horse with Milwaukee. Brandon Woodruff here. In this case, this morning when I played the game, I played full game money line. It was minus 118. I'm looking right now, and it's up to minus 128. But what I did, and what I'm going to recommend to everybody out there, you play Milwaukee in any capacity tonight, just list Woodruff as a starting pitcher. Don't the other side action. Just list Woodruff versus all. Doesn't matter because it could be Johnny Cueto tonight. He came down with an illness prior to the game last night. Now they claim it wasn't COVID, even though Alex Wood, a pitcher on that staff, went on the COVID IL yesterday. So San Francisco says it wasn't COVID. They don't know how he feels. They were going to see how he feels today if they thought he could pitch. If he can't pitch, now you have Kevin Gausman, or excuse me, is it Kevin Gausman? I think it is. And Wood on the IL. And San Francisco the last 2 weeks has been scrambling for starting pitching. But I will take Woodruff against anybody here tonight. Full game money line with the visitor. I looked at the relief corps here. John, Devin Williams and Josh Hader both pitched last night, but the pitch count was limited. It was like 11 and 14. They got outs really quick against San Francisco last night, so no doubt they can come back here and pitch back-to-backs. So just to sum it up real fast, because we both got to run, I'll take Milwaukee full game with Woodruff specified minus. For purposes of the show, this price has gone up. So I'm going to say, looking at here, it looks like it's going up about a dime at Pinnacle, minus 128, minus 130. I guess if you want to round it off, it's easier to identify if you round it off, so maybe minus 130.
Very good. I got it written down here. And I'm going to go to my notes here. I'm going to play Philadelphia, Washington, 7:05 tonight. And this is a bet on the over. So real quick here, betting the over with a road team like Philadelphia involved in a game with a total of 9 or 9.5 runs, batting .230 or worse over the last 20 games, and facing a terrible starting pitcher sporting an ERA of 7 or higher over his last 5 starts. That has done extraordinarily well. It has hit 73% over the last 5 years and a very good 48% ROI on those plays. So that stuff is pretty good. And there's more to it, but I mean, we could throw 100 different metrics, analytics, fundamental matchups at people, and we'd probably lose a lot of the audience and have to revert back to humor to keep our guests and viewers engaged in our show.
Our humor is missing today. He's absent.
Yeah, it's just just hope he doesn't try to leave the house, in these situations when we know he's not with us. But anyway, it's going to be an awesome season. I do feel bad for Cam Newton, but I'm surprised that that he has not already been gobbled up. And maybe he has as we're talking here, but I can't imagine waking up tomorrow and he's not with a team. Unless he retires. I mean, that's a possibility too. But yeah, there's one. What is this guy saying? Oh, here we go. This is for Mr. Finn, since he's not here. Thank you, Sumner. Sumner's been in the chat room for a while. Great follower on my feeds on Twitter, and I'm sure yours too, Rob, and Tony's and everybody else's. But where's Ramblin' Tony effing Finn? His analysis had me bet Giants team total under a half. First 5, plus 225. Easy cash. That's the type of stuff we like to see. And then we also like to see likes and ringing the bell and whatever else that stuff is. The thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
We need more thumbs up. Well, Rob, I'll let you go here. Like you said, we both have places to go and things to do.
Yes.
But tomorrow will be Wednesday. We'll have Jesse Scholl on, the guy who gives his wife the credit card to go shopping so she and the kids don't disturb him. Or I guess he's saying that they don't make any noise in the background that could interfere with our focus and analysis. But that's pretty cool. I mean, yeah. Must be nice to be able to do that. So for Rob, Veno, myself, SportsMemo.com, WagerTalk.com, and Manny's Irish Pub Sports Betting Show. May all the wins be yours. Miss you, Tony.